the day. Hey, if you got this part of the video, you got the live unedited edition. Home Gadget Geeks, Thursday night, it's October now, October 5th. Come on, microphone, stay where it's supposed to go. 2017, if you're catching this part of the video, it means you've caught the live unedited edition part. That's okay, hang around. If you're listening live, and there's a few of you, I see Peter out there, Mike Howard, welcome. Hang tight, we're going to get started here in just a few minutes. If you catching live, it'd be good to get a sound check. Does my camera look straight to you? Kyle, do I look straight?
It
leans a little bit.
Looks fine to me, but
let's see here. What do I got going on? That's better. Yeah, the shelf is kind of what I think I look.
Do I have too much light on me? I look kind of washed out.
You look a little orange.
I can turn. I have this lamp is adjustable.
So much better than it used to be.
What did it mean? Like when I've been on here before?
You were green. There was a period where you were green.
I know. Well, I brought in 2 extra lamps just for tonight because guys, this C615 webcam, you probably could shine a sun into it and wouldn't have enough light to make it look good.
It's a little light hungry. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
A little light hungry. Okay, remember, don't touch that during the show because I hear it.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds good, though. We got a sound check out there. Peter and Mike, thanks, guys. Thanks for letting me know. Quiet night out there. We'll give it a few extra minutes for some folks to show up. It's just now 8 o'clock in the Central Time Zone. I can't seem to get a text from Twitter for my dual factor authentication. So, Kyle, we'll talk a little bit about the meetup, too, right off the bat.
Okay.
I want to get your impressions of it, and then we'll dive in a little bit to what you're doing. So that's where we'll go. I think I got everything set here. Almost canceled on you tonight. I'm super tired. It's been a long week, and
you flew, didn't you?
Yeah, I flew Monday. I flew Monday morning to DC, and I hit it in DC. I absolutely hit it while I was there. I was super busy schedule. So it was good I think I was busy nonstop. I'd get about 6 hours of sleep, and then I would get right back after it. We had a lot of stuff going on. So yeah, it was busy. Jason, welcome. Good to see you out there. Jason Bryant's joining us. Good to see you. I had a lot of fun at the meetup. I'm not gonna lie. That was my favorite meetup.
Yeah.
If we the 7 we've done, if you asked me which one was the best, for me, it was this one. And
yeah, it was really good.
We'll talk about the show a little bit. Yeah, super good. Super good. I got all kinds of parts. I got all kinds of meetup.
Oh, you brought home a computer too, didn't you? You got some gear. You got some Tinker.
I bought Schoonover. Well, he gave it to me. Schoonover's ITX board. So something to mess around with. Yeah, I got a ton of crap. I picked up. Dave Icy Doc gave away these. These are the FlexFit Quattro, which is quad 2.5 hard drives. They go into a 4 into a 5 bay. And then I've got, let's see if I can reach them. I just happen to have 4 hard drives right here that have been sitting there. Look at that. 4 hard drives for you, waiting to be installed in something. So I'll have to find. I think that's going to go in that new box. I wonder if it has 4 SATAs on it. That's where it should go. That's where it should go. And then I don't know what I'm going to do with it. It's awesome to have all that space in another computer, but I'm not sure I need another computer. I probably need it like I need a hole in my head.
I gave my server to my little brother.
Oh, nice.
I didn't have. I think he put it in the
What'd you have?
in the garage. Well, I should say it was some ancient it was an Asus like some Xeon from like probably like just before Sandy Bridge processor, so like 2009 ish.
Ancient.
Yeah, ancient DDR2 RAM. So if it's DDR2, that's where I call it ancient, right?
That draws, you draw the line.
Yeah, at DDR2. So, but I think he just set it up in his garage for a garage computer. So it's like
this is DDR3. I
know
think actually
that's a big deal.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
Thanks, Schoonover. I'll try and put it to good use for the cause. Great meetup. Okay, let's. Holy cow! Mike Howard said he just upgraded his Unraid server to dual parity. Storage now up to 38 terabytes, expanding up to 42 in the next couple weeks. 42 terabytes. The life of a photographer. It's what that is. All right. I think we're good. Welcome, Spreaker. If you're listening to us live, come out. If you're on Spreaker, join us at theaverageguy.tv/live. Or you can stay on Spreaker. Great place to do it. All right, let me get started. Here we go. This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 329, recorded on October 5th, 2017. Here on Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the Average Guy TV studios here in a rainy, very rainy. I got back from a very dry Maryland, which I had been kind of in a dry Indianapolis before that. We'll talk about that here in a second, to a bunch of rain here in Nebraska. It's been raining all day. Of course, we needed it, so we'll take it any day of the week. I know some folks down in Houston and down in Florida that probably don't need it, but we needed it up here, so we're thankful for it. Of course, we post a show with world-class show notes each week out at theaverageguy.tv. You'll want to check those notes tonight. Kyle is with us, and Kyle's going to have some great show notes available. Kyle, welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Yeah, it's a great to be here. I think I've jumped on here a couple times with you before, but I was listening to the show, and I love chance. So
yeah, it's good to have you. We'll remind everyone, don't forget to take advantage of our mobile app that's available over at homegadgetgeeks.com. So if you haven't downloaded that, might be a good app just to have on your phone. Like, even if you don't think you're going to use it, might be one of those apps, because when you're traveling, our app is really, really good at streaming. So homegadgetgeeks.com, Android, iPhone, available for your phone. Download it. Spreaker, of course, provides that for us. We thank LastPass for their sponsorship. They're coming on the show here in a couple weeks. But get that downloaded, homegadgetgeeks.com. And then don't forget, the best way to support the show is out on the Patreon account. Although you can use our Amazon affiliate link. This is just nuts. It's still working. I just don't have any access to the admin console. I don't know. Join us on Patreon. It's a mess, Kyle. Don't ever wish that you have an Amazon affiliate link. It's such a mess. But best way to do it's on Patreon. Head out to theaverageguy.tv/support. I think gets you to it. Or just click on the Patreon link there on the page. Don't forget, pre and post show available to Patreon subscribers. And when we do the meetup next year, I think it's going to be in Omaha, and I think we're going to use Patreon to help. So listen for that. We're going to have a special kind of executive, what am I going to call it? Board of directors, something along those lines, where you can join help. I need to get some idea of how many will come to Omaha for a meetup, so I can get some idea of what I can use for facilities and some of those kinds of things. And so we'll do that through Patreon. You guys will help support it in that way. So head out, theaverageguy.tv. You want to just jump into the $1 plan to get things started. Head out there, theaverageguy.tv, and click on the Patreon link. I mentioned the Meetup. Meetup is done. Kyle, hard to believe it came at when. Of course, you're not very far from Meetup HQ. Dave McCabe, best meetup ever. It was super good this year. I just had a great time. I'm saying it was the best one ever. That's just from my standpoint. Kyle, what'd you think of the meetup?
Yeah, it was a great meetup. I think I've been to all the Indianapolis meetups that we've done. helps that I live in Indianapolis, so I was able to get to them. But yeah, this one was pretty awesome. I think a little bit smaller than some of the other ones. Maybe, well, probably bigger than the very first one in Indianapolis, but we're about the same size. But yeah, it was just great to have. I guess we missed the people that weren't able to make it, but it's sometimes it's nicer to have enough room to be able to kind of talk to everybody that's there.
Yeah.
And we were able to have conversations about Bitcoin mining and cameras and drones and HP and micro servers and just all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was pretty good, and Turner got to come again. So
yeah, kind of hung out, made a little bit of noise in the process. You spent a little bit of time out on the hallway with him. You were a dad, and that's always sometimes it's a super hard thing to do. We covered some servers. I think we covered the generation 10 server from HP Enterprise sponsored. And I'm super excited, Kyle. I think that's my next Plex box, or could be my next Plex box. I'm running an N40L, which is an old, little long in the tooth. It's still working. Windows 8. No, I'm sorry. Windows 10. I don't know why I said Windows 8. Windows 10 with stable bit drive pool, kind of serving up those. That's kind of where I've landed. I'm using CrashPlan to back up for that one. That's kind of where I've landed. But an N40L is a little old. I mean, that's a pretty underpowered. It's a nice box, nice cage. Doesn't have the best innards in it. I'm going to probably run it till it dies. And we looked at those the Gen 10 boxes. Schoonover, John Stutzman gave a nice overview of that. And so something, if you're in the home server space, probably something you want to take a look at. I think they're coming out here pretty soon. And that may, for many of you, the Gen 8 boxes just didn't do what you wanted them to do. We've heard some complaints in the forums and such about that, and it looks like with Gen 10 they're kind of back to the home server enthusiast, and it's going to work well. Price points seem pretty good, and so you might want to check those out. We covered those at the meetup. We also spent a little bit of time. You mentioned drones. We did that at the very end, and man, Kyle, you know what? I caught a little bit of the drone fever. I'm not going to lie. I watched Dave and who else was flying their drones? Who else? Oh, Keith
it's a long time guy. I don't know.
Yeah, Keith Lunsford. No, Keith had his drones up there, and man, it was super cool to see the drones up there. And I thought, oh boy, like, oh my gosh, I don't need this,
Yeah. I wanted to see one of those birds take one of them out, but I guess that would have been expensive.
a little bit. As we were flying them in the parking lot, these birds kind of started swooping in, and we were like, everybody was like, "Oh, go after the birds." Nobody would. Nobody'd go after the birds up there. But Keith had a larger one. I don't even know my drone, what the names of them are. But Dave had one. Keith had one. We flew those around. By the way, Dave on his YouTube channel has the video from that flight that we made out of the parking lot out on his YouTube page. So head out and check that out. The drone stuff was pretty good. John Biggs brought a Nvidia Shield to give away, which was really, really cool, by the way. I thought demo of the day, not because it was demoing my Plex box coming back to Omaha, but John brought that out. We set it up. I set it up on my Plex. I'm pretty convinced the Nvidia Shield is my next media server in the living room. It'll allow me to replace a pretty ancient Core i3 box, that first gen Core i3. I mean, it's okay, but I don't need. I guess we saw I don't need all that power for a media center. 179 with the newest one that's coming out here on the 18th, I believe. No game controller in it. Probably the most economical way to get in. Maybe a Black Friday deal on that where that comes down to 149. Kyle, what'd you think of the Nvidia Shield that we took a peek at?
Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty cool. I think it's I guess I don't know all the statistics on it, but I think it's a little. My understanding is it's a little bit more beefy than some of these other type of set-top boxes, like you know, like these little, the Chromecasts or the Fire Sticks are things that don't really have a very big processor in them, and they do fine at streaming. But I think the Nvidia has a little bit of a beefier hardware, so you know, I like that aspect of it. I didn't get to see a lot of the demo, but I mean, it looked great. The image that you were getting up there looked great. The interface looked slick and clean, and then yeah, I mean, it works with Plex and everything. So I mean, I think you know, I mean, I just keep hearing so much good stuff about Plex, and I guess I don't really have a need for it right now. I keep thinking of trying to find a way to see how it would fit into like the educational you know, video, audio, media stuff we do at school, but I haven't found a use exactly for it yet. But yeah, it's Plex.
Well,
seems like they're going crazy at Plex over there. They're really adding new
they're
features
doing a
and
lot.
stuff. So
they are. For $179 box and probably $30 in an SD card, and then maybe another $100 if you're going to add extra storage to it. You could probably get a 4 terabyte external drive. That would be the storage. So $300 for a media center box. That becomes your Plex server as well. I haven't tested it as a server. We certainly tested it as kind of just a player. I leave my Plex box exposed so I can get to it from anywhere. So I signed into my account and began to stream. We did some live TV streaming. Wasn't as successful there. I think maybe that's some of my upload. I don't know. We were all hammering the network too at the same time, but a pretty good little box. I was going to buy it that weekend, and then I found out that they're selling it without the game controller for $20 cheaper. And that will be out here in a couple weeks or a week or so. So I'm going to wait till that comes out, save a little bit of money on it, but that's definitely coming to the Collison house here. And we're going to put that in. You had mentioned at the top of the show, I gave a little demo, a little overview of some of the Bitcoin stuff we've been talking about, the mining, kind of gave an overview of what the screens look like. I'm surprised, Kyle, that more people took to it than I thought. I just was like, hey, I'm going to show a little demo. And, you know, I didn't really want to get too that much into it. We probably spent an hour talking about it. And
that was popular.
Yeah. McCabe even bought a video card. After
really?
everybody left, I took him out to Fry's on Sunday night. We have pictures on Twitter. So if you follow me or Dave on Twitter, we have pictures of we went to Fry's Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday evening. Picked him up at 1060 and installed it. We were up, man. It took forever to get that card working on his Plex box. Just kind of ran into a couple Windows problems, and so we got it running. We got it mining, you know, and, you know, we're talking about $1 a day. So, you know, on a 1060 card, you're not going to get rich. But I had a lot of questions around it. It was kind of cool. It kind of was the practical lab, so to speak, of what we've been talking about on the show. So it was kind of cool. Did you get, well, you thinking, Kyle, you know, it's not like you're flush with cash and you're just going to go out and buy $300 video cards, but well, what'd you think of that section?
Yeah. It's super interesting. I, you know, like you've said it before. I wish I had jumped in 2 years ago when you first had the guests on here talking about Bitcoin and had bought some, you know. So I'm really interested in it. I mean, it seems like the cryptocurrency is here to say whether whether it's Bitcoin or something else. I mean, it seems like the blockchain is, you know, is going to be some of the technology of the future. So, you know, I'd like to get into it more. I mean, right now, my computer could stand to use a graphics card. It's pretty slow at video and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. So
here's the benefit for you, right? Just think about it in these terms, right? Don't think about it from a mining perspective. Think about it from a VR. This is what Dwayne was talking about when he was on. Is that, you know, for about 220, let's say, between 2 and 220, you can pick up a pretty good VR card that if you were ever going to do in the future here, any virtual reality, those cards will support it. So I think his was like, hey, if you do it and you can't afford it, you could make up that cash in mining while you're waiting for the VR stuff to come around. It's coming out this Christmas. We're going to see a bunch of new VR stuff come out. And if you're into that at all, which I was surprised that we didn't have a lot of headgear at the meetup. I thought maybe some VR stuff would show up, and it really didn't. So we didn't spend much time on that. Kyle, for you, anything? I mentioned those 4 areas; those were a big deal to me. Anything I missed that was a big deal to you? What else did you get out of the meetup that that you thought was worth the price of admission?
I got to talk. I got to talk to, I think its name is Josh Pollard, one of the guys from another podcast that was there. So
Entertainment 2.0.
yeah, so I got to talk to him about some of his podcasting gear and some of his experiences, and so so that's cool. So and I got to talk to you about podcasting too. So just just hanging out with the guys and seeing that, just walking into the room and feeling all the technology and the demo setup everywhere around. It's just a cool experience, and it's something pretty special, I think, that Dave has pulled off for the last number of years. So I've always enjoyed it. And I got and the day before too, I got to go to Reset headquarters. Yeah. So to see some of it, live in action, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, very cool. Well, it's good to see you there. And good to have you on right after, kind of just give a recap of it. Can't thank Dave enough. We've been in this community since 2009. So April of 2009, Dave had started in 2008 with Home Service Show. And I just think about the various years. I think maybe 2010 was the first year we did a meetup. I think late in 09 or some 09, maybe we met in St. Louis. I can't remember all the dates, but we have pulled off 7 of those, and I told you in pre-show this was my favorite. And I don't know, it was kind of like a family reunion. It was kind of like I just really enjoyed the conversation that went on, and so tons of fun. Dave, thanks for I know Dave's an avid listener, and so Dave, thanks for your work. Really appreciate what you have done there, and it's not like he said we're never going to do it again. He does need a little bit of a break. And I think I mentioned this in starting. I think we're going to bring it to Omaha next year. I got to figure out a way to get it done, and we'll try an Omaha meetup. Hopefully you guys will support us in what we do. And so that discussion has started. So coming up, we don't have dates. It'll probably be in that September timeframe. I'm thinking probably mid-September. That's when it works best for me. My high school program gets started late September, and I want to really get it done before we go there. So we'll be thinking about the next meetup. And we'll see if we can pull one off. Kyle, the reason we've had you on today is because in the last 2 years, your life has changed. Your work has changed.
Yeah.
And I remember we've known you for a long time. I mean, I think maybe 5 years. I think I've known you at least.
Yep.
And those early days, newly married, young, rubbing 2 pennies together. And you 2 years ago, you started working tech support for the school district that you work in now. And then this year you've kind of moved into a kind of a support role. But what I thought was really cool, and we'll show you some of the pictures as we move here in the podcast, but what I thought was really cool, some of the work that you're doing with the school around media. So from your perspective, let's just kind of catch up with you, talk about your new role, talk about what you're doing. Let's talk a little bit about it.
So it was, the first 2 years I worked at the school district, it was mostly just, break fix, that kind of stuff. I absolutely loved it. Loved what I was doing. But then they really we were switching to Gmail. Things were changing. They needed somebody to kind of do more focus on, the technology training side. So I guess it's been almost a year and a half now that I've been doing that. The more of the technology training. And I mean, the simplest way to say it is my job is to teach teachers how to use technology in the classroom. So that's what I've been doing for, I think it's been a year and a half now. So I absolutely love it. I mean, I don't really know if I could think of a better job for me. So I love doing that. And then at the end of last school year, spring 2017, they came to me with a specific project that was, to help upgrade some of the media equipment at the middle school. So, I mean, I can jump into that, or I don't know if you have other questions you want to do first, or
let's jump into that. That sounds great. Keep going. I'm going to show some pictures as you're talking. So,
okay. Yeah. So, there was kind of a threefold, kind of mission on what we wanted to accomplish. We had an existing class that was for, it was video editing, and they were using these ancient MacBook laptops with iMovie, and just crashing and all kinds of issues. So those had to go. Something had to be replaced for the video editing side. And then they had a TV studio that was also, you know, all standard definition, like I think 11 or 13 years old, something like that. So we wanted to upgrade that. And then we wanted to add a podcasting space. So basically kind of 2 refreshes on existing stuff and then brand new add podcasting. And some of this was inspired by going to visit another local middle school that in the area and seeing what they had as far as podcasting, things like that. So they just kind of said, research it, come back to us, get us some gear lists, get us some prices, see what see what it's going to cost and kind of analyze things and see what's going to be the best technology for our district and our school to implement these solutions. So
let's talk a little bit about the studio first. I'm going to show a picture of that. Let me see if I can bring that up. We'll go. To me, this was the most impressive. Hopefully you can see that in your monitor there, Kyle, so you can
I can see that.
So from a gadget perspective, pretty cool layout, a bunch of monitors, some speakers. So talk a little bit about the setup here. What are you doing? What's driving it? How to get to this point? And I'm thinking all this is fairly new, right?
Yeah. Basically everything you're seeing in that picture is all brand new. So I would say I just started researching this stuff. And one of the things that helped me was the podcast you did with Mike Howard, and he was talking about vMix, and also, thanks to Mike Howard also, because he jumped a long time at the very beginning of this. He jumped onto a call with me and just kind of walked me through some of the vMix things. But you can kind of see in the picture there at the bottom underneath the desk there is a Dell Alienware computer, and that is running vMix, which is I guess you'd call it a video mixing, video switching software, production recorder, and live streaming software all in one package there. And so then that PC has a special add-in card for it that accepts an HDMI input, not an output. So that was something I had to learn about, figure out how that all worked and stuff. And then on the desk up there is a 4-port HDMI switching device. So 4 cameras, or up to 4 cameras, can go into that switching device, and then the one HDMI comes out of the switching device and goes into the PC. And that's one way to do it. You don't have to do it that way. You could actually, if you wanted to get a bigger card in the PC, you could get 4 ports in the PC and just eliminate the actual switching card. But that we were pretty familiar with already having that physical device to switch the cameras back and forth. So we wanted to keep some consistency there for the students and that sort of thing. And then they can also use the vMix software to add overlays and add lower thirds and all kinds of other things. Actually, in that picture right there, you can see there's another computer off to the right. And that one is kind of one that we've set up to do that sort of thing, where they can add in the sort of the overlays and other add in other media on top of the production as they're recording it. So in this case, what they do is they record in this studio. They record a copy and then they go back and they can make a few edits afterwards, and then they upload it to YouTube, and then the students, the rest of the teachers in the school, play it back as the daily announcements, and they use it for other things besides that too.
So are they live? Are the daily announcements live?
In this school, they're not live. So some of the other schools do a different sort of setup with some live and some old coax cable and stuff that is a different kind of setup. But yeah, they've actually been able, with the vMix, they've actually been able to do less editing, because the vMix lets them pull in like sport, like one easy example is like sport clips from the football games or volleyball games, and they can pull those in to vMix, because vMix is designed for a live production and for recording and streaming. It's designed for all that, so they can pull in those video clips, play them live, and just kind of pause, and then that gives them, there's less editing to do. They can just kind of do it like they're acting like they're live, but if they need to change something or add something at the end, they can. So Yeah, so that's kind of the setup in the TV studio there.
I see a camera on a tripod. What do you have? Is there a single camera in the room?
Yeah, so there's actually so behind that table there's 3 cameras set up. They're a Panasonic something. I don't know. It's in the gear. Everybody can get the show notes and get
It'll
the
be in
gear
the show
list.
notes.
Yep, there's lots of super details on the show notes. But it's a Panasonic camera. It's about like a $500 range. So we didn't go crazy with the cameras. They already had some tripods. And there's also there's also 2 teleprompter monitors that are facing towards the studio, towards the people that are live there, so they can read off of that. So there's 3 cameras right now, and yeah, and then there's also a mixing board, on the audio mixing board on that table there as well. So
that's a pretty hefty setup. What kind of can you talk a little bit range and price, and then can you talk how long did it take you to set all this up, and what kind of time frame was that?
Yeah, so I spent many hours researching all this gear and stuff. So it was, partly because that was my job, partly because I was having fun with it, kind of all of the above. So, and I really wanted to get it right in that regard. There's all kinds of ways you can customize this solution. So I think and there's educational discounts that might affect the pricing depending on how you're buying and that sort of thing. So I think that we were around the $10,000 mark. But a lot of that, what we ended up buying 3 computers, a lot of that was for the computers. So the Dell computers there. And part of the reason for that was so that they could have Adobe Premiere on 3 solid workhorse computers to be able to do any editing that they needed to do, and be able to have more than one person working on it. So kind of to give us some gives us some future proofing, expandability, that sort of thing. One of the, I can add in too, one of the big motivators for me going with the vMix software was it uses this technology called NDI, which is like network device interface. And you could think of that as like if you have an HDMI cable, or the pros use SDI cables for their cameras. It's basically like having that cable, but on just your standard Ethernet network. So having more than one computer in the room, or really anywhere in the building, they can all use that network NDI protocol to send video anywhere in the building. So that's another reason to have the other computers there.
Kind of allows you to have some remote cameras in other locations that are sending video back across the network, as opposed to having specialized cabling. Yeah.
Right.
No, Mike loves that. Mike's talked about that feature. As we're here, I should have had Mike on tonight. He probably could have just sat here and supported. He probably knows the right questions to answer. Does vMix have an educational, was there any kind of educational pricing that you got for vMix, and how did that work? Do you remember?
They don't. Yeah. So obviously a lot of companies offer an educational discount, but vMix is actually, in my opinion, it's priced very aggressively. It's priced. I just really think they're a value leader in that. And so they on their website, they say, like, we're just trying to make a great product that's the same price for everybody, sort of thing. So they don't really do a discount as far as that goes. If we bought through a reseller. And so you could, talk to your local vMix reseller and see if they have an educational discount for you.
No, I think
they're not going to change it too much, but you might be able to shave a little bit off there. But
I think what you're saying is true, though. They're by far, I think, the least expensive of the options when we think about OBS is free, but it's open source, and so they are right in that. They're kind of right in that sweet spot. Anything that you learned? So setting up this, before we kind of move into the audio section, anything you learned as you were setting this up, you do differently, or you're really glad you did it the way you did it?
I am pretty happy with how it turned out so far. I guess I can't think of
recognition over it. Did you get are the teachers liking it?
They're happy with it. Yeah, there's some learning curve. I think it's I think everybody's happy with it so far. I guess I spent so much time researching that I think we got what we wanted. So but I did learn a ton. I learned, cameras and just frame rates and YouTube and live streaming and just how does this going to plug into this? And I mean, I think I bugged some of these guys in this Facebook group I'm in about it. Like I just kept asking them questions after like, what if this happens? Well, how does this work? And so, but most of it was related to how does everything plug in? Which gear do I need? Why should I do this? You know, and there's the guy called, or he has a, his company is called Eastern Shore Broadcasting. He's a reseller for vMix. His name is Tom Sinclair, and he runs the Eastern Shore Broadcasting Company, and they specialize in selling in live streaming gear, basically. And he runs his Facebook account or Facebook group that he has for everybody to just kind of chime in and talk and get help is called Streaming Idiots. So I just kind of bombarded them with questions, and he's, you know, there was one thing like that special card I was telling you about, it's a Magewell card to capture the HDMI, and I was looking at a cheaper one, and he was like, you know, that one is really made for gamers. You should probably go with this Magewell one. It's a little bit more money, but it's going to be worth it, and it's totally worth it. I mean, I just double click, install the drivers, works, no issues, no glitches, nothing. So I've been super happy with that. Yeah,
that's cool. Let's make a quick transition. I'll lock on the screen here so folks can go. You also set up kind of an audio recording studio. We call it a podcasting studio, but yep. I'm showing the first screen of that. Tell me what you got in here, and why did you do this separate than the TV studio?
Yeah. So, yeah, we did a separate, this is actually just kind of like on the other side of the wall from the TV studio, but yeah, we wanted to have a dedicated space for recording audio, for a podcast or any other kind of like voiceover type work. Just to be able to, I mean, first to be able to produce just podcasts, and then also to, you know, a lot of the things like, especially the foreign language teachers wanted to be able to use this room as well, to just have students come in and, you know, take tests or communicate with other classes or even other schools in other countries, and in talk in their foreign language classes and learn. And the teachers can have the students, you know, go in and record something, and then the teacher can listen back when they have time, so they can kind of use the technology to be efficient as far as that goes. So just lots of possibilities, but yeah, definitely wanted something that was dedicated to the audio side. And in this room that you're seeing on the screen here, we have 4 mics set up, a 4-channel mixer basically, and Adobe Audition to record into. And then in some of the previous pictures, there's also a 4 mic setup on a mobile cart that can just be moved around into, yeah, right there. You can move that and just wheel it into any classroom in the building, plug it into power, and start recording. So things like that.
This is an additional box, right? This isn't that torn down. This, right. By the way, Kyle, let me tell you this. This is my favorite picture of all time.
Yeah.
Like, as a podcaster, as a mobile podcaster, and I think I'm trying to remember, did you find a picture of this somewhere like this and show it to me?
Yes. So when I started down this journey, I got a picture from the other middle school in the area, Noblesville. I think it's called Noblesville West Middle School. They had a cart that was like exactly like this, and I just copied it. I don't know where they got that idea, but it's pretty sweet. And I mean, maybe next time you go to what is it, Heartland Developers Conference, maybe you'll be wheeling a cart around like this, Jim.
Well, this when you showed this to me, I was like, this is freaking brilliant. Like,
it's awesome.
You know, I sit at a table, and that's kind of my shtick there, and we put some stuff. But I always thought how cool it would be, and this is a really nice 4-person. You could do 2 cameras off of this thing, and have them face different directions to get, you know, you could have them off parallel each other to get 2 and 2 on either side. And I just kind of thought, man, this is really cool. And so I've thought about it. I almost actually set one up at work for Heartland Developer. By the way, congratulations on getting the name of that conference right. That's hard to remember. Heartland Developer Conference. Infotech is the other one that we do here in Omaha. But yeah, this was super cool when I saw this. How are you guys using this box now?
I don't think it's left that room yet. Actually, I think just like Monday this week or something, I finally got it, because I actually had a big, there was a little hang up on the brackets that mount to the cart. I actually had to, don't tell anyone, I had to bend the metal of the cart up a little bit to make the metal frame thinner so that the bracket would fit. And then I had to put a piece of wood on the bottom, and then I had to put some tile that I had sitting around on the top, and then so the bracket would fit. So it took me longer than I wanted, but yeah, just got everything plugged in the last couple of weeks here on that one. But I'm expecting that one to get moved around, and like I said, especially roll down to like the foreign language rooms, the Spanish class, the French class, things like that. So yeah, I think that's gonna be awesome.
So I'm assuming I see some headphones on there. So is it one person can monitor on that, or do you have a headphone amplifier that allows everybody to have headphones?
I think if we wanted to put a headphone amplifier, we could. I think at this point, my plan was just to just have the one there for monitoring, for one person to check the sound levels, and then kind of just roll. Since they're standing so close, they can obviously all hear each other. But you know, that was my plan at this point.
No, I like it. And I for the longest time when I was doing my podcasts at Heartland Developer Conference, I would I'd have headphones for both the guest and for me. And I found out the guests don't really care. Like it doesn't really matter. And so it didn't make sense. They felt awkward with them on, you know, they just wanted to talk. And so I found now I don't even wear earbuds. I have a set of headphones plugged into the soundboard, and I do a quick test, 1, 2, check, just to make sure everything's good. And then I throw them down and we just have a conversation. And so I found that that works out pretty well. I think that's really cool. What kind of clamps are you using? Did you to get the microphones up there? Or what do you?
Let me dig out the link here real quick. They're really cheap, but they're very inexpensive. They seem solid. They would be better if they would, on a table or whatever, if they were on a certain thing that was designed for them, they would fit fine.
Yeah, that cart's got a lip. The cart has a lip on both the bottom and on the top, which is part of your problem, right?
Yeah. So is the chat? I think I just closed the chat. Is the chat still working? I can throw the link in the chat. Is that the best way to put it?
Probably so.
I don't know if you can grab that and pull that up real quick here, but it's a B&H. We get it from B&H Photo. It's called an Onstage TM03 tabletop mounted C clamp. It's like $10 or $7 or something. So
you could probably pick that up at Amazon as well. So Onstage, I've used Onstage for some of my other audio equipment. So that's cool.
Yeah. Cool. I've been super happy with a lot of the Onstage stuff that we've got recently. So.
Yeah, actually, I think from a value standpoint, the Onstage is one of the great values that is out there. I've certainly Newer is another one. NEW and EEWER Newer. They are the very cheapest, and if you can get away with, if you don't move it around a lot and some of those kinds of things, you can get away with that. But I actually find some of those things don't last too long. Kyle, why? So talk a little bit about, I assume the school's been doing this before, but why this seems really progressive to use video and audio. And then I heard a podcast with the principal or the superintendent. What's going on with those?
Yeah. So, I think that, I guess I kind of go back to one of the things I dropped in the show notes this year is kind of the why producing audio and video content. And I think it's that a lot of times in education, we talk about authentic learning and also authentic ways to present your knowledge. I think kind of when I was in school, it was pretty much the only options were a multiple choice test or write a 6-page paper about it. Well, a lot of kids express their learning in different ways, and so to me, being able to express to show that you've learned something is huge. If you walk out and say, "Oh, I'm really great at playing basketball," they're going to be like, the footage of you playing basketball. If you say, "I'm a great carpenter," okay, show us something you've built, So students need to be able to show what they've learned, and taking a multiple choice test that has an A on it. I mean, I guess that's fine, but you can't really, show that as, I mean, it's hard to show that as evidence. People just see random questions, multiple choice. But if you can produce a podcast that says, I went to science class and I learned this about, the processes that a cell goes through to develop and grow, and these are the parts and all this stuff. You had to do the research, you had to know what you were talking about, you had to produce it, you had to collaborate with your classmates, you had to work together. So use creativity. So just the audio and video just gives students another way to learn and to express their learning. So that's huge for me, just being able to kind of tie all those things together there. Yeah, that's kind of the thing. And then with the podcast that we are doing, I think I listed let's see here, 3 or 4 podcasts. Our superintendent, Dr. Sherry Great, I don't know how she got the idea. Well, she got the idea from one of our principals who was doing a podcast, but she did one. It's because we're called the Shamrocks is our mascot thing. So her podcast is called Inside the Rock. So, that's good. But basically she just does a weekly, it's usually like 15 to 20 minutes, just interview somebody in the community, just kind of telling the story of what's going on in our school, and just, kind of letting people see what's going on inside the rock. So there's that one. We have 3 Woods Minutes, which is one of our elementary schools. The principal has students just kind of giving like basically the same idea, but just a snapshot real quick with 3rd and 4th graders producing, here's what's happening in our elementary school this week. Here's a teacher, here's something cool, here's what we're learning, something like that. There's another one just started. The middle school counseling team decided they wanted to do a podcast after they saw everybody else doing it. So they're jumping on board and they're calling it a toolbox, because they want it to be a toolbox of resources for parents who are dealing with middle school students. So they're just going into anything about counseling, college and career readiness, mindfulness, all kinds of topics like that. My podcast is called the WWS Ed Tech Sandbox, but it's really just for testing purposes to make sure I knew what I was doing. But I threw 2 episodes up on that one just for fun. And then the high schools, go ahead.
Have you gotten any response back on those? Have people been listening to them? Have you gotten any numbers?
On the shows you can see, I mean
on yours, the one you did.
On my personal one, mine has not gotten to, I mean, I haven't promoted it at all. The only people that outside the school that I think have watched it are Alex and Rob from Spreaker Live Show, because I keep commenting on their show, because we are completely invested in Spreaker at this point at our school district. So I love what they're doing there. It's been a great platform. Got some good recommendations on going with them. So all of these podcasts are hosted on Spreaker, and I just want to be connected with what they're doing. And so just listening to that podcast, giving feedback. So yes, Spreaker has been great for us. If you're into podcasting and you want to get started with Spreaker, you can check out Spreaker Live.
Yeah, they got some great plans. Spreaker, I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Spreaker actually has Android and iPhone apps, $100 each per year, which is very, very reasonable, and great little apps. They do exactly what I want them to do. So Spreaker has been providing those. I cut you off. You had one more podcast that you guys are doing as well.
Yeah, the high school. The high school still has to figure out what they want to do. I put a link to something they posted already, but I mean, they want to do more of like, because it is the high school, so the students are older, the students can kind of take more charge of this. They want to have the students produce a podcast. And we got to kind of figure out, how are they going to do that? Are they going to put, one podcast for the science department and one for the history department and one for every department? Or are they just going to lump all of them together and there's not really any coherence or flow? It's just, if you're interested in Westfield High School, then you're going to listen. So they got to kind of sort that out, but they're ready to take off with that. They're getting their podcast studio up and running at the high school. And so I'm super excited about what they're going to be able to do at the high school.
Are you helping with that setup? I mean, are they coming to you and recommendations on gear?
Yeah, a little bit. We'll see. They already have some stuff, so it's kind of cobbled together right now. So they have some of the Blue Yeti microphones, which they're just USB only. So now we're trying to think, well, how can we get a mixer and use that kind of stuff. So we'll probably, I'm going to suggest that they switch over to some ATR 2100s, which we have 10 of at the middle school. And we'll see how that goes. But yeah, hopefully we'll get to talk to them and see what comes up. But I mean, either way, what they have, now is kind of working for them. So they're doing some great stuff over there at the high school.
Kyle, you should write this up for South by Southwest and get this. I mean, certainly you guys are not the first school district to do this, but I think you guys have a lot of great stuff. I mean, just as I hear the stories of it's elementary and junior high and high school, and everybody's kind of catching on, and you're just getting started. It'd be really interesting to hear the stories throughout the year of what happens as people hear these things. I always dreamt about having a working with our school administrators. I pitched this to them 5 years ago and said, you guys, let me help you do a podcast and you can communicate with everybody in the school. One podcast does it all. This is what I do at work, right? I podcast to our thousands of coaches. In fact, we'll do one of these tomorrow at work. And it's a very, very effective, if you can get people to listen to them. It's a very, very effective tool. Are you getting any initial feedback from the listeners at this point as to who's listening and how it's going? It may be too early, but are you getting any feedback?
I'm really pretty much on I'm on the producing side, really. So I guess I haven't seen that there's a like a communications team at the district level that is kind of handling that. So I guess I haven't gotten any particular feedback, but it seems like at least some people are listening to them. You can see the Spreaker stats show up on the page there. So so that stuff is going there. And you mentioned like the whole range of the school. I've pretty much almost forgot, but just today I set up at our intermediate school, which is just below the middle school. I set up their TV studio, and I forgot to take a picture of it. I meant to take a picture of it, but they have a very similar setup to what's going on at the middle school for the TV side. And they just got that set up today. When they came to me, I was like, well, I already have I don't have to do any research for you guys. I already have the list all pre-built for the middle school. So they just got their gear in. They were a little bit later and getting that stuff ordered, but yeah, they're set up a little bit smaller for the intermediate school, but yeah, another TV studio there. So
you mentioned the Dell Alienware PCs. Any particular reason you went with Alienware versus maybe building your own box and kind of putting your own components in?
Yeah. So I looked around a lot for what I was going to do about the computer situation. And I was like, oh man, I'm going to nerd out. I'm going to get on Newegg and I'm going to research and buy every part handpicked and everything. And I'm going to build them on the desk at school and get to build a computer. But at the end of the day, we're already a Dell shop. So our school already buys from Dell. That's our main, computer supplier. So that made it easy on that side. And I needed something that I knew was going to work, that had already been tested by experts. And I didn't have to worry about making sure that parts were compatible or whatever. So I just needed something drop dead simple that we could go with. And they were a good value for what we needed. And really the Alienware is their gaming thing, and the graphics that are required to do video production, to run the vMix program, is basically the exact same thing that a gamer needs. So that's why we ended up going with those. But yeah, they have the GTX 1060 graphics cards, which is what I think was what you've been using and talking about. We went with the 6 GB version because that for video editing and producing.
Totally. You made the right call there. You definitely want to get. I'm actually finding on those 1063 gig cards, there's every once in a while, one of the miners will push it to like 2.5 gig. And I'm like, oh, maybe I should have went 6.
Yeah.
You never know. But no, that sounds like that's the right horsepower. By the way, super smart decision to not do your own build and let it be a company that warranties it. If that thing goes bad, you send the whole thing back. Get behind. I think a lot of guys, like you said, and I made this mistake early on. Like I built computers for my parents. Huge mistake. Just Like, get something that works, get something that's tested, get that put in there. That's not a time to be screwing around with your own.
Yeah. If it was my own and I wanted to customize it and tinker with it, put it on my desk at my house, I'd love to do that. But, and I could, if something happened to a part, I could go through the RMA process and talk to whoever and get it fixed. But a school, it's going to sit in red tape land for 3 months before anything happens, you know? So you can't really go that route.
No, that was super smart on that, on the portable cart.
Yeah.
What are you using to record off that? You don't have a PC buried in there somewhere, do you?
No. Yeah. So a couple of things. So we bought 3 of the Zoom H4n Pro audio recorders, so they could use that. It would be one option. And then they all the students this year have Chromebooks. So since it's a USB mixer, they could also just sit their Chromebook down on the cart and just record straight into that. So yeah.
Man, you sound like you covered all the options. I think you researched the heck out of this thing.
I spent a lot of time on this thing.
It's good though.
So,
it shows.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
And I think you probably in the district now have a lot of credibility. I mean, it sounds like it's all working really well. Did you have any problems where you didn't anticipate something and you wish you had done something different?
I mean, I wish I think I wish that cart had fit those clamps better. That ended up being a thing, because the clamps themselves are only like the $10, like I said, and then but the cart is like 230 or something, you know. So it was like, do I just return the clamps? But then I couldn't find, it was hard to find a bigger pod, you know, a mic holding bracket of some kind that was actually bigger. So that was hard. And then do you return the cart? It's already been assembled. It's more expensive. Will the next cart have the same problem? So, and I don't have the answer to that one yet, but that's where I was at with that. You know, the mixers that we got, I love the mixers. They record one channel of audio, and I think you and I talked about this, but that might not sound like much to if you're not really into the audio thing, but basically that means it takes all 4 of the microphones or however many you have in your mixer, and it puts them into one audio file, and that's it. So if one person interrupts another and they start talking over each other, that's just in the audio. There's nothing you can do about it. A multi-channel recorder would record each microphone on its own individual file, and that way you could go in and you could silence somebody or do more editing. But that's more editing. So I'm happy with where we're at right now. There's another device. I think it's called a Zoom. It just came out. It actually hadn't even been released when we were buying this stuff. It's called like a Zoom Live Track L12 or something like that. And it can do it can record like 12 different microphones at the same time, USB into your computer. So yeah, that's that's like my I don't know, the vision of where, you know, or the product to look up to when somebody decides to upgrade. Because right now, like the superintendent comes over from the admin office and comes to the middle school studio to record her podcast every week. So at some point she may decide that she wants to build her own studio for her podcast in that building where she's at, and that way they don't have to keep driving back and forth. So maybe someday an upgrade is in the future, but we'll see how that goes.
No. Sounds pretty cool. I think you got. I think Ryan is looking for the link to the mixing board. So what'd you get? What are the boards that you got in there? Those are Mackie. Or what'd you get?
Yes, the boards that we did get are Mackie Pro FX 8 and 12. So I can get a link here real quick.
Yeah, and I have that same. I have the same FX Pro 8 here in the studio. So that's the exact same board I have here. And then I have the 12 at work. So nicely done. I love those boards. They have just been workhorses and are fabulous. Kyle, you'll drop those links there in the chat room as I see you.
That Ryan there that's bugging you, that's my brother, by the way.
I kind of figured it was.
He's actually he is a high school senior, and he is setting up he is doing some awesome stuff with even more expensive cameras at his high school. So
nice.
He's doing some stuff there.
Yeah, more expensive cameras mean what? What's he working on there? Or do you know?
Like like a $5,000 Sony 4K camera with
Nice.
interchangeable lenses and all kinds
Wow.
of crazy stuff. So
Sounds like you guys are in a district that's got more money than it knows what to do with.
yeah, well, he's in a completely different. He's in another state. So
Okay, all right, I got you.
yeah,
I got you.
yeah. But I'll put I can drop the link to the whole show notes page in the chat there.
Good.
That's what they're looking at.
Awesome. Yeah, don't
So that's the
make
show
it
notes.
view only so nobody
Yeah,
accidentally
I think I
wipes something out. I'm going to need to use those for the final, for the final cut. Kyle, very, very cool what you've done here. And, last week we did a show, Dave Jackson, Daniel J. Lewis. We talked a lot about the podcasting gear that I thought every guy or gal needed to have. I think when we started talking about this, I wanted to have you on because I wanted to spur some ideas for our listeners in the school districts they're in. And yeah, you spent a little bit of money here, but not actually a lot. And on the podcasting side of things, let's just take the TV production studio out. Schools could set up that little studio picture that we have there, 4 mics, some arms, mixer. We're talking under $1,000 really to get something like that going on. Easily under $1,000.
Yeah.
And so, I really want to encourage school administrators or, parents that are listening to this podcast in your school districts. This is a great opportunity. You said it, the key in the very beginning, you said, students need to have another option besides taking a test.
Yeah.
Right. And there are some in the spoken arts, which I think used to be so small, like it was radio and television, and nobody focused on it in school. And I think the spoken arts now, with the advent of YouTube and with the ability to be a YouTuber or a podcaster or some of those kinds of things, I think the spoken arts are really, really important. And I think we've got to get kids students understanding the power of them and how you can communicate effectively through them. And today the kids just figure it out, right? They just do it. They figure it out. Some of them are really good at it. Imagine what we could do, Kyle, and I think you guys are doing this here. Imagine what we could do if we were intentional about it, right?
Yeah.
Imagine what we could do if we could get some teaching around it. There's some very, very powerful teachers who I think once they figure out some curriculum around this, holy cow, I think this could take off and be gigantic. Are you seeing some of the early signs of that? This school sounds like it's been pretty progressive anyways. They've had this television studio before that you replaced.
Yeah.
But do you see that happening in the school where some of those spoken arts are really being valued?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I do think that there are a lot of people that in the district that are, thinking that way and thinking progressively and looking forward to, what is the future. And like the high school is getting ready for a major renovation, and they're saying we don't want to just build a high school classroom that's 4 walls and it looks just like it did 20 years ago. We want to build one that is going to work next year and in 20 years future from now, and thinking more about how, just how education is going to evolve, how it's going to go more online, how it's going to include more of these media, audio, video things, how it's going to, how the high school may end up looking a little bit more like a college campus as well, and having kind of some more open spaces and things like that. Making more spaces where students can go and create these things. That we already have traditionally called the library. I guess they call it the learning center now or whatever. But and this was actually, and the podcast for the Inside the Rock podcast, that the most recent episode, we just interviewed the I forget what he calls himself, the chief learning center person. I don't know, innovation specialist is what he's called. So, and he was they have this whole makerspace movement going on in there and stuff, and kids can just come in. And the way he explained it, which I really liked, was he said, in a traditional library, it's a room full of resources, and in the past that meant books because that was the only resources. And then eventually in the 80s and 90s and stuff, the libraries added digital media of some kind, internet access basically. But now it's an entire room of resources that includes, you know, sewing and CNC machines and 3D printers and Raspberry Pis and podcasting and video and green screens and books and internet databases, and it includes everything. So it's a resource room, and they can use that to explore and build and learn with all of these different types of resources. So
yeah, I interview college students. Well, this time of the year, I do 4 or 5 a day. And I asked them, one of the questions in my interview is, how do you learn? Like, and how do you learn best? And 9 out of 10 now are saying YouTube. Like, I just go watch it. And boy, I've watched some of those YouTube videos. We got some really good ones, but we could do better.
Yeah.
And so, you know, how exciting is it to think that the future learning going on, what you guys are doing? You know, you mentioned you have 3rd and 4th graders editing audio.
Yeah, we do. Right? Soundtrap.com. It's free. 5 projects for free. It's awesome.
Yeah. And so what a great opportunity to give them a shot to do this. And, you know, I tell my high schoolers all the time, they snicker a little bit. I always tell them, hey, start a podcast. And they kind of snicker at me. That's still not in the vernacular for everybody. And you know what? Podcasting isn't for everybody. But plenty of YouTube opportunities that are out there. And I can't tell you how many things I've learned. I had a problem with the sync the other day, and I'm like, all right, how do I fix this? Well, what's the first thing you do? You go to YouTube, right? You're like, so, okay, somebody, and this is the abundance mentality. Someone has done it, and not only done it, but recorded it. Like it took someone's time, crazy. Right? And all for what? For maybe a few advertising dollars on YouTube and personal recognition. That's it. You know, that's the spirit of this abundance mentality that we live in, or that we could live in for sure. And so really cool that you are helping in this area. I mean, it's fun to watch you do this. So Kyle, great job. Anything else you'd share? Anything I missed on this? I think a pretty good coverage here in the hour.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I think of something else, I'll bring it up. But if you're interested in more details, I mean, definitely check out the show notes. So
yeah, Kyle did a nice job. I will copy and paste those into our show notes. If you're wondering, maybe the first time you've came to the show, go to theaverageguy.tv/HGG. That stands for Home Gadget Geeks. HGG329 is this one. That'll take you right to it. Or just head over to the front page and you'll see the Home Gadget Geeks stream, and then you can guide it. You can kind of just get it from there. Kyle, really cool. We got some great stuff. You got a bunch of gadgets and stuff on your desk behind you. Anything you've gotten recently? Any gadget you've picked up recently that you're like, man, I'm glad I got that? Anything? You got any good gadgets to share?
I can't think. All my toys are at school now. I don't have to pay for stuff on my own. I just play with the stuff at school. So yeah, I mean, like I said, just today I was setting up that studio at the middle school. So just getting to play with it all there. I have a Dell XPS 13 is my workhorse laptop that I use for my, a lot of my work at school is recording screen capture videos to show teachers how to do things. So I use that. I have a Chromebook. I have an iPad. I have one of
got them all, right?
Yeah, one of each, because I got to teach them all. So
I know. Windows, Mac, and Chrome, right?
Yep.
You got to do them all.
Yep. So
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Good. Well, thanks for coming on and sharing all that with us. Good to catch up on both what went on during the meetup, and then to kind of hear when you started this summer, you started sharing these things with me, and I'm like, oh, we got to get you on the show. Like, I want to cover this stuff. And you're like, well, I'll let you know when I'm ready.
Yeah.
And I got an email from you a couple weeks ago. You said, hey, I'm ready. And likewise, if you're listening to this now and you're like, you're doing a cool project and you're thinking, man, I'd love to share that, let me know. Like, you listen to this every week. Send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. I would love to hear what you're doing. I mean, if it's interesting and we can talk about it, and it's kind of gadget or tech related, we love to have those stories, just like Kyle has done here. And we'll figure out a way to get you on, get you mic'd, and all those other things to get it done. It helps that Kyle's got the right mic and all the right setups to be able to do that. But if you want to share your story, let me know. Jim@theaverageguy.tv. We would love to have you on. Kyle, hang around for a little bit. We'll talk a little bit in the post show. I'll let everyone know. Don't forget, you can support us through our Patreon link that's available on the site. Just head out to theaverageguy.tv/support. Or look for the Patreon link right there on the page. $1 and $5 plans. Don't forget, we'll have some plans coming up for Meetup that'll let me know you guys are interested in coming. Get a little support of that ahead of the Meetup. I'm going to try and do it a little bit early and just kind of see how many folks we have available for next year. Don't forget, you can contact me. Like I said, I mentioned here a second ago, send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. Find me on Twitter @JCollison, and many of you have. I love doing Twitter, although I'm having trouble logging into it right now. But if you want to shoot me a note over on Twitter, you can do that as well. Don't forget, theaverageguy.tv, both a web hosting and media platform provided and hosted by Maple Grove Partners. Get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and you trust. I just saw Christian Tuesday night. It was really cool. I was in D.C. for work. I gave him a little shout out on Skype and said, hey, you busy tonight? And he said, no. Oh, he is actually. He took an hour out of his 2 hours out of his very busy schedule, picked me up at the Metro. We did dinner together, and then he dropped me back off. It was really, really cool to see him. But of course, Maple Grove Partners, you can get that hosting for as little as $10 a month, and that's web and media hosting provided. And so head out to maplegrovepartners.com. And then don't forget the Home Gadget Geek app, sponsored by LastPass. We appreciate their sponsorship of the show. They're coming on here in the first part of November. We'll catch up with Amber what's going on. But head out to homegadgetgeeks.com. We appreciate their sponsorship of the show and all that they do. Head out to lastpass.com. And don't forget, I did get a newsletter out, and if you're not subscribed to it, you definitely can't get it. So I can guarantee you, if you're not subscribed, you won't get it. Now, there's sometimes I just don't send it. That happens too. So I guarantee you won't get it if I don't send it, or if you're not signed up for it. But get signed up for the newsletter. Head out to theaverageguy.tv/newsletter or /subscribe. Either one of those, I think, will get you there. Sign up for it. Put your email address in. I definitely won't spam you. I won't even send you what I intended sometimes to send you. So it's definitely not a spam box. Give me your email, and every time I get an email, I'm trying to do it weekly is what I'm trying to do. And so I'll try to get that out there for you, but get subscribed. We are live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at theaverageguy.tv live. Got a whole bunch of shows coming up towards the end of the year. Would love to have you join us live. Want to thank Rennie and Ryan and Kevin and Tony. The other Jim came out. There were some folks who came out early. Jason Bryant was out there a little bit earlier who have dropped. Emily, we missed you tonight, but we appreciate it when you guys come out and join us live. Appreciate your sponsorship on Patreon. We'll be back next Thursday. I think actually next Thursday is the Best of Heartland Developer Conference. So I'll be live. I'm going to beg Uyghur to get back in here. And we'll be live, and we'll play some simulcast stuff from Heartland Developer Conference and some really good interviews. You want to join me for that. 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out here at theaverageguy.tv live. And with that, we'll say good night, everybody. Kyle, great job, man. Good work. That was really good. You got your act together, man.
I talked a lot.
You did a great job.
Yeah, I think I'm popping in this microphone though.
No, you're fine.
Get a lot of.
No, you're fine.
I got to work on that. I noticed that in our studio we're getting a lot of little air
popping
in the mic. Yeah.
Get a foam. Try the foam.
Yeah, we have the foam ones. We have the foam ones at school. I have them on everything at school, but this I don't have one for home. But I should actually we ordered. I told them we need 9 foam pop filters. Well, they ordered 9 9-packs of pop filters. So we got them for the next couple years. Yeah, we have plenty. So
they should probably be replaced every year, to be honest.
Okay.
With people spitting into them.
Yeah, that's what they said after they bought them. That she was like, well,
and they're like 50 cents each.
Yeah, yeah. So I could bring one home if I needed to, but
you could have done worse. You could have got 9 cases of Alienware boxes. That could have been ugly. But pop filters is the other thing I like about spit guards, about the windshield, is that it really keeps them the proper distance from the mic. Yeah. And you can set those right there and say, okay,
the nylon round, like not just the foam, the actual kind of windscreen.
Yeah. And they themselves really don't do much, to be honest. Really? I mean, they do a little bit, but they get them the proper distance from the microphone. Okay. And that is kind of, especially in what you're doing. I'm not a big fan of them myself. I don't want one here because I'm depending on this camera and I want them to be able to see me. But I for the students, it kind of teaches them proper distance. So a lot of people want to sit back here or they want to get right up on it, and you kind of need that
How
three fingers.
how are you? Because I don't think I heard you pop once the whole time, and I'm trying to kind of tell people to do. I think do what you're doing, where the sound is coming out of your mouth, and it's
Right.
close enough to the microphone. But if you have a P, the air goes past the front of the microphone instead of directly into it. Is that kind of what you're doing?
Yeah, it's a matter of when you're speaking, making sure you're just not pushing too much air. So I could have, when I said pushing there a minute ago, I could have said pushing, right? But instead you hold back a little bit, kind of pushing. So you'll notice there's a little, right? It's a subtle difference.
That takes work.
It does. And the funny thing is I've done this so long now that I don't even know I'm doing it when I'm on the mic. And so I actually hold breath back when I'm talking to kind of hold that, the air coming out, so I'm not getting that popping.
I just get so excited and my arms start flailing and I make a lot of noise.
Well, so right now, because you're coming in off the back of the ATR 2100 or the 2005 in your case, you're not getting the full sound. I amplify it. So now I'm XLR coming into the mixer and I amplify it and I can hear every single pop. So it gets, it gets me thinking. I'm consciously thinking all the time to make sure I'm not, pushing too much air, or that if I'm going to do a hard P, I'm going to move off to the side a little bit. I'm going to move my head a little bit to get that P off. So, I know it's really weird, but when I used to do it with a headset, I used to breathe out the side of my mouth like this all the time. It was funny. We didn't do as much video in those days. But I would always catch myself going, because I didn't want to, you didn't want to blow onto that, blow onto the mic. So you could teach, and you should teach, proper microphone etiquette.
Yeah. That's what I've been trying to do, just what you said, but I guess I feel like it's not, I don't know, it's not working. Maybe I should have, for this show, maybe I should have been more like this at an angle
No, you're fine. It was fine. I never heard anything that I would have been like, okay, Kyle, back up. These mics are really forgiving. And so you don't, for the most part, you don't have to worry about them too much. But, I'm in front of a microphone now 3-4 days a week, sometimes 3 times a day. Yeah. So you just kind of get, I've heard people recently say things like radio voice and, I like listening to you. Man, I go back and listen to some of the early stuff from a decade ago, and I'm like, oh my God, I am awful. I was telling somebody today, it's just practice. I have spent thousands of hours on the microphone in the last 10 years. Yeah. You just get better at it. And I'm still not a pro. Yeah. I still make mistakes all the time.
And I have that one show that I did, and I threw 2 episodes up, but I'm involved in all this podcasting stuff, but I'm not the one that's doing hardly any of the talking. I'm just producing. That's all I'm doing, really. So I don't have that really side of the expertise of actually doing the podcast myself. So,
Kyle, you're pretty good at this. I'm not going to lie. You should, in the future here. You did really well in talking about. I've had worse on here, and talking about you really walked through it in a very methodical. You had great explanations when we were showing the pictures. There are, 90% of the audience doesn't see the pictures. And you did a nice job of describing each of the sections and what you have. Yeah. You did it without even thinking about it.
I'm wondering if at some point, if this could be like a, I could start work with other school districts or churches or whoever that says we need to do a podcast, or we want this we want to live stream this event for video, or we need this training on this topic or whatever. If I could kind of do some sort of freelancing with this,
you totally could.
With this,
I think churches would be a sweet spot for you. And do some. They don't pay very well.
Yeah. Well, actually, so maybe you can answer this. I've been thinking about this. Maybe you can answer this question. The church I go to now, they will publish the sermon as an MP3 file and they host on Amazon S3, and it's just, so it's a link directly to that file. So they're already paying for that hosting. And people just have to go to the website and download, but there's no RSS, there's no podcast. So run this idea by you. If they created a WordPress site, they get the PowerPress plugin, they copy and paste the direct link to the MP3 feed or MP3 file that they're already paying for hosting on, and they paste it into PowerPress plugin, then they have a podcast. That's all they have to do, right?
Yep. I would switch them off S3. I mean, S3 is not a great place to be hosting a podcast out of.
Okay. Well, that's where they have, I mean, that they must have a huge account. Cause like they have all, I mean, all the PDFs, all the documents, all the audio that they do for the whole church has, I mean, that's the whole thing is everything is on S3. So they have some huge account already. So I'm assuming that this isn't going to overwhelm them, but I understand what you're saying with that. I was just wondering.
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly what you do. And then so you put it on S3, that gives them a visible MP3 download location. So the name of the file, it's some long URL from S3.mp3, right?
Yep.
And then you put that in you create a post on WordPress, put that in PowerPress, boom, you're done.
Jim says, Jim says we need some prayer to go with our WordPress. I do not want to get into managing WordPress, but
that's the drawback. Yeah.
For this solution, it may be, I don't know if you can pay. I guess you can't use Spreaker that way. Well, Spreaker, I don't know how that would work.
Yeah. They could use Spreaker pretty easily. Not that way. They're going to host a Spreaker to make it work there. Yeah. Pretty much. If they're going to self-host, they're going to have to go with WordPress. There aren't too many other options.
Yeah.
If they're going to self-host, if they're going to host somewhere else, then you have a lot of other options. Like you could move them to Libsyn, and Libsyn has its own web page, right? Spreaker is very, very similar. You could do it that way. Blueberry's got sites that are out there, although they're using WordPress for their sites. So the drawback to WordPress is just all the freaking updates. It's like Windows, it's
probably worse than Windows.
I've been trying to get I have a SIA server set up to kind of host all the SIA storage that I'm doing for this Bitcoin stuff. And my God, getting that thing off of the fast ring and getting it just on a stable build has been a nightmare.
But you signed up for beta software.
Well, but I didn't, like, this box was on the fast ring before it became the SIA server, and then I didn't want to re-image it, so I put that software on there thinking, okay, we're getting close to the release of the Fall Creators Update, and then I'll move it off the fast ring and put it on a real stable spot. Well, man, they've had 4 updates in the last 2 weeks in that build, and it's like, oh my God, it keeps rebooting, and then I got to go back in there and restart SIA, and all those. I got to sign into the wallet to make that work, and so it has been a little bit of a nightmare. And then I never should have done this. I mistakenly changed my Microsoft password the other day. I was trying to sign into Skype. I thought I was using another account. It was my Microsoft account. I changed the password. Oh my God. I had no idea how many things I have tied to my Microsoft ID. And all of a sudden everything starts failing. It's like, oh, you need a new password. So I had to go back into all these computers and reset the password. It was just awful. I was like, oh, why do I do this to myself? So getting off of the fast ring and getting onto a stable ring. Yikes.
There's going to be that magic window, right? Isn't that coming up?
It's coming up.
Have to do it
in a week.
You got to jump in.
It's actually on the SIA server. It's right now. So it downloaded 1709, which is the newest version of it, and I think it's 16299, which is the release, kind of the final release build. I think watermark is gone. It took itself off the fast ring. I just verified that tonight, and I think it's stable. So I think you're good. Tonight is the night. So
you have to sign. What do? You go in and you sign out of your Microsoft account, or you sign out of the.
No, I want to leave. You're like, hey, you go into the Windows Insider builds and you say, I want to leave.
I'm done. You've overwhelmed me.
I can't take this anymore. And you quietly leave, and then it'll take you off. If you're still on it and you haven't gotten that update, it'll say, put me on a more stable, after the next major release, put me on a more stable release cycle. That's the one you want, and picked up that one, and it worked. It's there. So I don't have any other PCs on the fast ring, so I'm good at this point. I have one VM that I'm running on Redstone 4 which was in the skip ahead build. And so I'm already I'm already 4 or 5 builds into Redstone 4. But that's a VM. I don't use it for anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta get a VM up with and to get it on the fast string just to see what's I know what's coming.
You have Windows 10 Pro?
Yeah, I haven't had time to fire up a VM to look into that, but I need to.
And
see.
you know how to do that, right? Just start, type in hyper, boom, you're done. Then click the hyper, and the setup is super easy.
Hyper-V is
for Windows 10
really
Pro.
easy, so.
Yeah. It takes a little bit of memory. You need to make sure you've got some extra memory in that box right before you go to do it. It'll take up. Windows needs at least 4 gig of memory for any instance. So you need at least 8 gig is what I tell people. Do you have at least 8 gig in that PC?
Yeah, the one I have here on my desk has 12 in it.
Oh, good.
And
yeah, perfect.
At school I have 8. But
yeah, at least 8. I think I have 16. Wow, and this one. What am I running on this one?
I keep saying I'm going to upgrade to get more RAM, but the prices keep going up instead of down.
I know. No, they don't. They haven't been going up. Yeah, 16 gig. In this box, I put 16 to start with. So that really allows me to run, like I'm running just right now with all the stuff I have running for the podcast. I'm running right at 8 gig or so and that's just one Windows instance. But I got all these really expensive Google Chrome windows open, and they just take a ton of memory. So it's one of those, dealios. I should have. That was probably my mistake. Let me shut this off. I was running a process behind the scenes. I probably should have shut off, and I probably should have shut my backups down. I didn't. That's a critical error. I got really lazy tonight. I should have, because I have uploads going. I mean, I have 10 gig of bandwidth, so it's fine, and it's only taking 2. So in theory, I have plenty, but usually I shut all that stuff off before I get started, and I just got really lazy tonight, and I didn't do it. That's a huge mistake. That's a huge mistake. Well, live and learn.
Hey, one other question, podcasting question for you. I'll probably never run out of podcasting questions, but have you ever heard of, I threw it in the chat, have you ever heard of Seriously Simple Podcasting? I saw them one time, and I think a podcast I was looking at was hosting with Seriously Simple Podcasting, but I've never heard you or Dave Jackson or Ray or Daniel or anybody ever talk about this plugin, or I've never heard a single thing about it. And I guess it requires WordPress too, so it doesn't really help with getting away from WordPress, but it should be simple. It's called Seriously Simple Podcasting. So and it sounds like it's an alternative to the Blueberry PowerPress.
Yep. But I wouldn't, like, I am like Blueberry PowerPress, or the PowerPress plugin, I think is what it's called. That's not the problem. Like, the problem is
right.
PowerPress is written really well, and once you get, it's pretty powerful, and it's got a lot of options. And once you figure those out, it's actually really simple. I mean, it took me a week or so to get my brain around it, but so no, I haven't heard of these guys. I imagine it works just fine. Some of the problem with PowerPress is it's complicated. It started simple, and then everybody's like, well, hey, can you make it do this? And hey, can you make it do this? And eventually it becomes a behemoth, with all those requests from the customer.
Yeah.
So Tony says, looks like they're installing AT&T fiber in his neighborhood. That would be nice. I'd love to have fiber out here in Bellevue, Nebraska.
They keep saying that Comcast Xfinity keeps saying they're going to bring gigabit to Indianapolis, but I don't know if they're going to come down my side street or not.
Yeah. Are you in Indianapolis proper?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, it'd be nice. It would be really nice to get it here. I don't think that's going to happen. I just don't. I just don't think it's gonna.
I mean,
it's okay. It's okay. I have enough.
I have 30 down and like 5 up, and don't even, I mean, that's plenty for what I do right at home, you
Yeah.
know? Well, but at school I have a gig up and a gig down. So
Yeah. You'd want a
basically,
podcast from school.
so,
Well, I'm not getting you, like, I don't get you in HD. So it would be
oh, really?
nice. Yeah. You need at least
Well,
5 to do this.
can I adjust my settings? I didn't even look at that.
No, you're probably full HD in your,
Well, my webcam only well, oh, you know, my webcam is 1080p. I don't know what
yeah.
I don't know what to do about that.
What do you have? What are you using for webcam?
It's this Logitech C615.
615. Yeah.
Yeah. So could I? So what are you getting me? Are you getting me in 720p? How can you even
I don't
tell
know.
that?
No, I would have an HD symbol in the corner. Down. Well, no, it would be on this side over here. Anyways, no, I got to go this way with it. There would be a little HD symbol that would say that you're coming in. Like I'm coming in HD, but you wouldn't see it. No, you wouldn't see it.
I don't see it. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Well, I'll have to look for that at school because we talked about this at the meetup. We're going to try to do the Hangouts. I mean, that was super simple. I mean, you sent me a link and I clicked on it and that was, I clicked accept.
You saw how simple this is.
Yeah. So I think that's anything I should know about running the Google Hangout besides the control room or just, I can't get to the control room now because you're in charge, but.
No, don't run any of those things. Leave it stock. The only thing I ever use is screen share. And that's the green box up there. And that's what I use tonight to share your pictures. Okay. But no, don't.
So you don't even need the control, not even the control room. What does that do?
It's supposed to mess with the levels. Like if you have somebody that's too loud and somebody's too quiet. What I find is that the Google does that for you on the back end, and then if it's really bad, you can. I run them through Auphonic to fix the levels. I don't try to do it during the live show because sometimes I found I would monkey with it during the live show and I'd get somebody too quiet, and then you're like, gosh, that didn't really do what I wanted to do. So I don't know.
You use
I don't monkey with anything. I use Auphonic to level everything for the audio. Video I don't level.
I tried Auphonic one time, I think, and I forget. I don't remember what I just never came back to it. I've been using Audition to do some of that stuff. I just switched my audio. Can you still hear me? I just switched to.
You got really quiet.
I just switched to studio mode just to play around and see what happened.
It's it takes a little bit. The studio gets a little richer, but I don't find it to be that much different. And again, I always try to run things just as stock as I can, and then I'll let Auphonic clean it up on the back end.
So when I'm doing this for recording these podcasts, just keep it on voice for my guests.
I would change it back. Yeah, change it back for me.
How's that sound?
Yeah.
Is that better? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, I honestly have trouble telling the difference between the two now.
I don't know. It says when you do it in Hangouts, it says this is only for the highest quality sound when using professional equipment to record musical content, not designed for spoken conversation. So they're telling you right there that you don't need it, but
no, you don't. You don't really need it. You don't. Okay. I just find that the more you monkey around with stuff, the more opportunity is for the monkey to go wrong.
Yeah.
So it's just not, for me, it's just not worth it to have those kinds of problems. So I try to keep things as simple as possible. It's not it is not the most elegant, but it gets it done. Like my failure rate is really, really low.
With Google Hangouts?
Yeah. Just keep it simple. And I'll get a little fancy with screen share and some of those other things, but I'm not really interested in anything else, Yeah. It just works well. To our point last week, which is, a lot of these same technologies we're using here could be applied to video conference, at work. And so many at work are bad. They're just bad. They don't work, or they don't work well. I was just doing a Skype for Business call today. It was horrific. At one point in time, I made everybody come in on a Google Hangout, but it was a kind of an unscalable situation because I would have to send them the link in advance, and since we're not a Google shop, it was harder on them. And but I prefer the Hangouts hand over fist to Skype. I don't know why anybody would use Skype anymore. It's awful. It's just awful.
They keep changing it.
No, they do. I know it's Microsoft. Yeah, they do indeed. Just terrible. Did you walk home with anything from the meetup? Did you get any gear?
I got that 4-bay. This guy.
Yeah, the same one.
The IC dock and something else. So I got the LED light bulb.
Oh,
so
nice.
I think it's going to be it's a smart bulb, but I think it's going to be a dumb bulb until I get some home automation.
So you get a hub.
Yeah.
Till you get a hub for it.
Yeah. But I mean, it'll last for many years, right? So I mean,
yeah.
If I plug it in 10 years from now, it'll still work. So
make a great little light for your, the front of your studio there. I've gotten into Hue, and that's kind of the system I've kind of bought into is Hue lighting. And so those are I'm trying not to buy any more bulbs until we move. So, but I installed LED down here, and I really need to change these bulbs to LED. I've been waiting for these darn CFLs to burn out. They just, they were meant to burn forever.
Yeah.
So
I got a few CFLs hanging around, but mostly LEDs. And
nice.
I don't know. I want to do some of the home automation stuff, but it's really for security and for like safety and security type things. I'm not really looking for the convenience of light bulbs. I can flip a switch, but we'll see. I would like to have.
They're pretty convenient.
I would like to have like the smoke alarms that are all interconnected. So if one goes off, they all go off and stuff. So
right, yeah, it's good.
Like water sensors, make sure I don't have any leaks and stuff like that.
Good reason to have them. I think they're getting really good and really, really practical. And I'm even thinking about that new Nest thermostat. They just released a new one for 150. That's okay. That's all the smarts of the Nest, but not quite as expensive.
Yeah. I have a smart thermostat sitting over on my shelf that I haven't installed yet.
Well, it's not very smart if you don't install it.
No.
Hey, if you're watching live, I want to thank you for coming out tonight. Nice job. You guys were pretty quiet tonight, but that's okay. Maybe everybody was hunkered down, getting some work done. Appreciate you guys coming out tonight. Kyle, stay around for a second.
Yep.
We'll see you back here next week. A little bit of the best of Heartland Developer Conference. We'll see you guys next week.